The super trends are the long-term investment themes that we think reflect the major changes occurring in society on a global basis. There's 5 of them. The first one is angry societies, a multipolar world. The second one is technology as a service to humans, followed by infrastructure, millennial values, and the silver economy, which reflects on the ageing of the global population. But perhaps if I start with the first one I mentioned, angry societies, multipolar world, it sounds quite dramatic. Yeah, well, what does that mean? And just very simply, the Western middle class is disenchanted. Low wages growth, low real wages growth, and this affects Australia as well. The feeling that jobs are being exported overseas, that politicians aren't listening, and that's led to the election of populist governments, and one good example of that is the Trump administration. So in that context, everything that President Trump is doing is absolutely logical. He's looking after his own, he's looking after the people who voted him in. So what does that mean? It means that globalisation has taken a hit. We're not calling the end of globalisation, but the tariff issue is a manifestation of globalisation isn't quite what it used to be. So what sort of companies does that benefit? Well, we look at the big brand names, the big local brand names, those companies with local or significantly local manufacturing. It'll also benefit companies involved in security, in particular cyber security. And every other day, we're reading about Russia or China or whoever it is allegedly hacking into corporate IP, intellectual property. So cyber security firms have been a really strong sector in the market over the last few years. The next theme I'll discuss is infrastructure. And infrastructure, very simply, roads, bridges, airports. So developing countries need infrastructure. They need infrastructure for competitiveness, to improve productivity, and that will lead to a higher standard of living. Developed markets need to replace and renew infrastructure as well as building additional infrastructure. So it's a favoured theme of ours. It also benefits from the low yields, the low bond yields around the world because of the characteristics of infrastructure, a steady, low risk dividend or earning stream, that's very attractive in a low yield environment. So we like companies who own the infrastructure. There's plenty of local examples, and particularly in the road sector, but as I mentioned before, airports and renewable energy is a big theme. One of the biggest themes in the coming decade, we think, is renewable energy and more broadly sustainable investing. The third theme, technology as a service to humans. Now, we're all aware of technology. It's a big theme. It covers a lot of different applications, different software, different companies doing different things. But what's clear is that this is a very, very strong theme that will be going on for probably as long as I'm alive, that's for sure. So technology, any company involved in artificial intelligence, software development, as I mentioned before, robotics, automation, digitisation of data. All those sort of companies, they're involved in cloud computing, and they should continue to do well. The next theme that we favour in the very long term is the silver economy. So the silver economy just refers to the fact that demographics are changing and the world is getting older. Actually, if you look at the graph of the percentage of the population older than 65, it's been increasing since about 1950 and has gone steeply upwards of late. So that reflects falling birth rates. Japan has a negative birth rate, meaning there's more people dying than there are being born. And the Japanese, there's a big debate about immigration, but immigration is not featuring in their economy. Europe has a negative birth rate as well, but because of immigration, it's around 2% positive, so they are producing positive. But even China's birth rate has decreased quite dramatically. The ratio of births to deaths is only about 0.6. Barely positive, 0.6%. So very, very barely positive. And it's just a factor, as countries become more affluent, they have less babies. So if you've got a larger proportion of your population ageing, what companies benefit from that? Well, what do older people want? They want good health care, they want travel, fun and experiences. So we're favouring companies that are involved in biotechnology, particularly around those diseases that are related to age. So arthritis, diabetes, and to some extent cancer in particular. Also travel-related stocks. So with higher disposable income, the kids are off their hands, they've downsized, so older people are spending more money on leisure and recreation. The final super trend is millennial values. So although the proportion of the world population above 65 is growing, the actual largest demographic are those people aged under 35. So around 50% of the world's population is under 35, and most of those are in emerging markets. Particularly a country like India has a very young population. So millennials, younger people, what are they interested in? They're interested in fun, they're interested in speed or instant gratification, technology, they're digital savvy, but also, as I mentioned earlier, they're very interested and passionate about sustainable investing. So what stocks can benefit from all that? We mentioned tourism and leisure stocks as regards to silver economy. It also applies to millennials. Digital, tech savvy, mobile phone applications, that's all part of that particular thematic. But we think one of probably the biggest theme in the next decade is sustainable investing, and that fits right into that millennial values proposition. They don't just want to know that companies are giving lip service to good environmental or social or governance practices. They want to see it. They want to know what impact is that company having. So renewable energy, anything to do with fossil fuels, anything to do with improvement of poverty or the elimination of poverty. These are the sort of things that millennials are involved or very interested in.